Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cody Kavita. I'm an actress and a voiceover artist here in Los Angeles, California, and I also have 5 chronic illnesses, which I manage on a daily basis. Now, first things first, I think I've realized that explaining at the beginning of my videos where I've been when it takes me a while to post a new video is kind of ridiculous. Between having 5 chronic illnesses, planning a wedding, being a busy actor, just having a life, it's kind of impossible for me to produce videos every week at the quality of which I want to produce my videos and to post them on that rigid schedule. So I'm just going to throw that out there, that I am still having a blast creating videos, and I am so thankful for all of you that have subscribed, that like my channel or my videos, and actually watch my videos. It's still wild to me and such an honor. But I am going to be producing them at a rate that works for me and my life. Cool. Okay, so as far as today's video goes, I thought I'd talk to you about something that is really, really important to me, and that is gardening. If you follow me over on Instagram, then you might know that I am a garden girl. I love gardening. It is such a fun activity, and I have found over the years that I've been battling chronic illness that it's been a really fun and useful outlet for me when it comes to processing how I feel. Gardening really found me at a time when I needed it most. It was shortly after I'd moved in here to my house in Pasadena, and it was right around the same time that I started experiencing my first symptoms of my first chronic illness, PCOS. At the time, I didn't know it was PCOS, so I was just kind of suffering from all these mystery symptoms and feeling like my body was kind of falling apart. And at that time, my neighbor, Heather, hi Heather, she started gardening in her backyard, and I was just fascinated. I was so intrigued and so hooked on the idea that you could grow your own food, which I know is not a new concept. Don't come for me. I just grew up in a household that had very manicured lawns, manicured flower beds. There was no growing your own food happening at my house. So the idea of seeing somebody do it in person was just so cool, and I would like check in with her on the different plants she was growing and little progress reports on how her plants were going, but I never thought about jumping into it myself until one day I came home and there was a random pepper plant on my back porch, and it wasn't from Heather. It was actually from a realtor. I don't know this woman. I think she had the wrong house, and I called her multiple times and I left messages being like, hey, do you want your plant back? She never called me back. So I just kind of took that as my sign to go ahead and get started. So I went and got all the necessary supplies and just kind of took off from there. I started with the easy stuff like peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, and then moved on to the more advanced things like black crim tomatoes and really cool flower varieties. And it's really been a really fun time. But during that time that I've been gardening, I have found it to be a wonderful coping method when it comes to dealing with 5 chronic illnesses. And that's what I thought I'd talk to you about today. So without further ado, grab yourself a snack or a coffee and let's get into it. So the first lesson that gardening has taught me, arguably one of the most important lessons when it comes to fighting chronic illness, is patience. Oh man, that's a big one. Whether you're growing plants from seed, which take a very long time, or you're growing from plant starts that you've gotten at the garden center and just waiting for it to, take root and take off, patience is, non-negotiable when it comes to gardening. You can't make a plant grow faster. And I think that definitely applies when it comes to chronic illness. You can't make your blood results go lower or adjust faster. You can't make your body adjust faster. It is on its own timeline, and respecting that timeline, whether it's in the garden or with your body, I think is essential. And it has really helped me kind of quell any anger that I might have or frustration, because I know that it's happening. Maybe not at the speed that I want it to happen, but it is happening. And I think that patience is definitely, as they call it, a virtue. I remember one year I decided to grow black crim tomatoes, it's a very rare heirloom tomato. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have these kind of like purple shoulders on them, and it's notoriously hard to grow from seed, but I wanted a challenge, so I did. I started 10 seeds because, you never know what's gonna survive. Out of those 10 seeds, 5 of them became sprouts. Out of those 5 sprouts, 1 sprout became a plant. And I nurtured that thing so much. I paid so much attention to it, and it did survive. It only produced 2 tomatoes, but man, was that rewarding, being able to eat those 2 tomatoes at the end. But of course, it required a lot of patience from me. And it's the same thing with chronic illness. Which leads me into my next point, which is that gardening can help you cope with setbacks. If you follow me on Instagram, then you might know that for the past 4 or 5 years, I have tried very hard to grow a pumpkin in my garden, and so far I have been unsuccessful. However, each year I get closer and closer to a pumpkin. In fact, last year I had 2 little tiny baby pumpkins growing on my pumpkin vine. I was so excited. I think I had like Pumpkin Watch 2020 on my Instagram going. And then one day, inexplicably, I came home and our gardeners had accidentally severed my pumpkin vine. It was devastating. I definitely teared up. It was really, really hard. It had taken me, I want to say like 100 days to get to that point, and to have the vine severed, it was like, well, it's too late to start a new pumpkin plant this season, so I guess we're not doing pumpkins this year. And it was really, really hard, and I took the time to acknowledge how upset I was and how angry I was. However, I decided with kind of an indignant nature, I was like, I'm gonna try this again, man. And it's the same thing with chronic illness. I remember when I first was diagnosed with my arthritis, I tried a treatment option, and for the first 2 weeks, it was working. I felt amazing, like I had never felt before. But after those 2 weeks, I started feeling worse, and like severely worse, and it turned out I was actually allergic to that medication. So it caused quite a few problems. Not only was it not treating my health condition, but it also was causing massive amounts of inflammation in my body. So I had to immediately get off of that medication, and it was really frustrating because it meant that my options for treating this condition had gone down another notch. There aren't very many options for me when it comes to treating my arthritis, and so it was frustrating, and I took the time to grieve and be upset. However, just like with my pumpkins and just like with my arthritis, I tried again. And that is the third thing that I think gardening has really taught me, which is resilience. Trying again and again. It seems maddening, I know. I have been there. But it can be really, really rewarding. When it comes to my pumpkins, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try 4 plants this year in different locations in my garden. And I'm gonna try different ways of protecting them, different ways of growing them. I am actually really excited about that, to see which one is gonna succeed. I mean, maybe all of them don't succeed and I buy a store-bought pumpkin this year. Or maybe all of them succeed and I get a ton of pumpkins that I get to display around fall time. But I am going to do that. That is something that I am determined to do. And it was the same thing with my arthritis medication. I took my time to be upset about that treatment not working, and then I jumped right into a new treatment, which actually happened to be the one that worked for me. And now I only deal with my arthritis when it rains. So that's really a testament to being resilient and not giving up. And that's the nice thing about gardening, which of course leads me into my 4th point, which is that gardening can really force you, you don't really have a choice, force you to celebrate your wins and your triumphs. There is nothing better than eating a garden fresh tomato from the garden. Obviously it's a garden fresh, in the middle of the summer. When I got to eat those 2 black currant tomatoes that I grew, it was so satisfying. Not only was it delicious, but it gave me a moment to reflect on how far I had come and how hard I worked to get to that point. And in chronic illness, you don't always get the chance to celebrate physical, tangible results. Sometimes chronic illness is invisible, and the way in which you can celebrate your progress is based off the way that you feel. Maybe you're doing an activity one day that 6 months ago you couldn't even dream of doing. That's a wonderful opportunity to take that time to kind of celebrate and kind of soak in that moment. But sometimes with chronic illness, you do get the opportunity to have a physical, tangible result. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you might know that a couple of weeks ago, I got that opportunity. You may not know this, but there is a blood test called CRP. It's C-reactive protein. It's a marker for inflammation in the body. It's not specific. It does not tell you where the inflammation is coming from. It just kind of lets you know that, hey, something's wrong. And CRP was actually my first test result that I got back when all of this started for me a decade ago, that told me that something was severely wrong in my body. And because of that, I went on this journey of figuring out what's going on in my body. Of course, a decade later, 5 chronic illnesses later, it's been a wild ride. And while most of my conditions are in remission, for lack of a better word, the CRP never returned to normal. However, a couple of weeks ago, I saw my rheumatologist, and I'm gonna try not to cry again. I cried when I was doing my Instagram video, but for the first time in a decade, my CRP is normal. It's normal. I'm still at a loss for words. I'm just so jazzed about that. I have worked so dang hard for so long, and to see that result, it was just a testament to what I always say, which is, don't give up. You know your body, and you know when it feels right and you know when it doesn't, and never feel bad about getting a second opinion, because you never know where that can lead you. I get to celebrate life in a relatively healthy body now. Still dealing with 5 chronic illnesses, but gosh, I get to do a lot. And if you're on this journey of chronic illness, or even if you don't have chronic illness, hang in there. Hang in there. Don't give up, and keep trying, because you never know where things will end. Anyway, to wrap up this video, gardening has been a wonderful companion for me on this decade-long journey of fighting 5 chronic illnesses. It's been a nice outlet for me to work on those skills of resilience, coping, celebrating my wins. It's given me that safe space to do that, so that when the real world, my chronic illness, when those challenges, those successes, when those things come up, I am that much more able to handle them. And I know not everyone has space to garden, but even if it's a house plant or a little plant that you keep on the windowsill, I definitely recommend you try it. You never know, it might end up becoming a huge passion like it is for me, or you might be like, you know what, I'll watch it on TV. Either way, I hope you give it a try. And if you garden, or if you do try, let me know. Comment below, tag me over on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're growing. I am a huge gardening nerd. So yeah, if you liked this video or you found it helpful, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload my next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!